On the 17th of September this year, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry commenced at the Bridget Mobanda Justice College in Pretoria. It was exactly 73 days since that explosive July 6 briefing by the KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And the allegations set out initially by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi painted a very bleak picture of what's happening with regards to the criminal justice system, not in the entire country, but specifically with regard to Gauteng. We've seen 37 witnesses appear over the course of 45 days. 28 of those witnesses appeared in phase 1, and 9 of them appeared in phase 2. At the core of the allegations that the Madlanga Commission has set out to try and establish whether they are truthful or not is the instruction by the Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu, to disband the political killings task team. This is an instruction that Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi took issue with, as well as the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, because they believe that Senzo Mchunu did not consult with them upon issuing the instruction to disband this task team. And that's been one of the main allegations, but there's also been several other damning allegations. Vusi Madlanga, a tenderpreneur who's also been charged with several criminal charges, as well as Katiso Katie Molefe, who's been fingered in a number of murder ongoing criminal investigations. And these two individuals were raided. Their homes were raided on the 6th of December last year by members of the PKTT. And Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi firmly believes that given that the PKTT were investigating these two businessmen in Gauteng, they then got heat onto them, and that's why the instruction was issued out by Senzo Mchunu to disband this unit, given that they were investigating those specific cases. We heard several damning allegations come out during the course of the 3 months that the commission has been sitting. I think one of the main things is coming out from Dumisani Kumalo, the head of crime intelligence. He brought to the fore and showed us and told us about this Big Five cartel.
Amongst these cartels, which are made up of different syndicates, there is one identified in the country known as Big Five, which have since been identified as being very sophisticated, and it has got widespread influence, and it's involved in a broad spectrum of their illicit activities.
He also spoke to length about made several damning allegations about senior police officials who were allegedly working with members of the Big Five cartel. And just to name two of them was that of the Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia, as well as the head of organized crime in the country, Richard Shibiri. We moved on a little bit away from the core issues surrounding SAPS and a little bit more into a Metro Police Department when we heard about Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, EMPD. And I think this is a really fundamental point of the allegations where they stem from about the rot within the criminal justice system, specifically within Gauteng, because the allegations about EMPD relate to Vusi Madlanga having captured EMPD in being allowed to use blue lights in his private security vehicles to essentially move around the province and remain out of bounds of the law. Those are at least the allegations that have been furnished to the commission, in that Vusi Madlanga had entered into this unlawful contract with EMPD, and the then Director of Specialized Services, Justice Mkhwanazi, had fraudulently approved or signed off on this MOU between Vusi Madlanga and EMPD. We also heard from Justice Mkhwanazi, who came during phase 2 to defend himself and to talk about the allegations that were presented against him. Essentially, Justice Mkhwanazi was painted as this person who was a law unto himself within EMPD and had taken several decisions at the time when he was made acting EMPD head to kind of bring the entire service into the spotlight of wrongdoing. And this was in specific regard to a unit that he was in charge of, and that unit is the SWAT unit. And they have been accused of wrongdoing with the MPD, but one of the cases that we must highlight is the allegations of a 2022 murder that allegedly happened in Brakpan, when a civilian who was being interrogated, was killed and murdered during this interrogation process. And witness D, the late Marius van der Merwe, spoke to length in camera at the time, given that he was a protected witness, about this incident. He claims that he was instructed by Julius Mkhwanazi to load the body of the victim onto the back of his vehicle and dump it into a dam or down a mine shaft. Marius van der Merwe was unfortunately killed. He was gunned down outside his home, and we've seen a lot of pressure fall onto the commission, as well as, I think, various stakeholders within the criminal justice system around the protection of witnesses following Marius van der Merwe's murder. Another important person that testified in phase 2 was that of the suspended police minister, Senzo Mkhunu. Mkhunu sticking to his guns, believing that his decision to disband the PKTT in December was the correct one. He believes that the political killings task team was a task team that wasn't a permanent structure, but was there to deal with a certain issue, in that of political killings, and that they had addressed that issue, and therefore the members of the PKTT needed to rightfully return to the units where they were originally from. The commissioners, Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga and his co-commissioners, kind of got it out of Senzo Mkhunu for him to admit that that decision in itself was wrong and was fundamentally flawed. In taking that decision without consulting the National Police Commissioner, as well as KZN Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Brown Mkhotsi, a name which is extremely controversial, businessman down in the Northwest, he testified as well. And I think probably the most outlandish claims and allegations to come out of the commission this year so far.
There was a suspicion then, a real suspicion, that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi was recruited by the Central Intelligence Agency, the American one.
But not only him, the Zulu King as well, Mrs. Zulu KwaZulu-Natal. He claims they're working for the CIA in America and have been working for the CIA for a long time. And I think the one thing that was flawed with Brown Mkhotsi's testimony is that he didn't provide that much proof in terms of the allegations that he was putting out there. On the 17th of December, an interim report landed on President Cyril Ramaphosa's desk, but we still have a long way to go. Another 3 months when the commission resumes, hopefully in mid-January. We're going to continue with phase 2. Phase 3 will basically allow people in phase 1 to return to respond to the allegations that were made against them by others in phase 2. So we're hoping that we're likely to be wrapped up in May next year, and that a 6-month report will be presented to President Cyril Ramaphosa. And that report is the all-important report, because that will include recommendations